If you're really new to the game, or you're just actually stuck in copper and you want to get out, you have to realize that you're at the lowest skill level, so you have to have the lowest expectations. I'm not saying anything to put you guys down for your ranks, because at the end of the day, it's just a number that the game gives you that every player base somehow glorifies the highest rank. It's like your Instagram likes and followers. It looks all nice on screen, but what does it actually mean? It doesn't actually mean anything. It doesn't really define person. Same thing with your rank. You can have a high rank and a high KD, and your stats might look good on paper, but when we get to a game, that's what really matters. It matters about you showing up and making those impacts to the round to win the game. But you already know why you clicked on this video, so let's not waste any time. But if you want to put yourself in a good position and rank out a copper fast, I recommend watching to the end of the video. I plan on making this for every single rank. This is going to be a mini series out of the hundreds of millions videos I will make for ranking up and helping you guys get better at this game. So make sure you guys are subscribed for almost daily videos, and if we get at least 300 likes on this video, I will make a mindset for bronze for my next video. But that's a talk for another time. Before you load up for that rank game, this is kind of like your oxygen for when you're skydiving. This is something you got to take with yourself. You got to keep in mind every single game that you play until you get off. You must understand that not everything is going to go your way, and you can't compare good gameplay to your own environment, because you're in copper, which is at the lowest level. So that means your expectations got to be at zero, ground level. For your teammates especially, your teammates are at copper for a reason. They're at the lowest skill level because, well, they're probably not the best players in the game, and that's where they lie over there. So you can't expect the lowest level players to play average, because that's not how it works. Especially for the other team. If the other team is hiding in corners, they're playing stupid. Reminder, those guys do not know what they're doing, nor do probably yourself and your teammates know. Once you get higher in the ranks, it'll be a little bit better to predict people, but otherwise you got to keep your expectations at the absolute lowest. And the biggest thing that no one wants to hear but everyone needs to hear is that you're going to lose a lot of games, but that's totally okay, because losing is going to be it's going to help you get better at this game, whether that's ranking really low, because in the future you're going to learn from those mistakes and it won't happen again. Let me help you picture this. If you were to get some sort of athlete from a different sport, not even plays video games, and you put him in a diamond ranked game, do you think he's going to do well? Do you think he's going to know what he does? He probably doesn't even know the operators and the maps. That's literally how it is going to be in copper. Some people are pretty new to the game, or they play the game a lot, but they actually don't know anything about the game. But that's literally what copper is there for a reason. It's because you can't compare your teammates to the golds that you see on stream and other people's games, because that's not how it is. You can't control how other people play. So now that you know what to expect, let's talk about actually playing the game. The operators, setting up, and how maps are supposed to be played out. Depending on the map, every map is different, and there's a lot of different play styles for the map, and it's kind of up to your responsibility to give yourself the knowledge of where attackers come in, where the defenders defend a lot, like the bomb sites, common spots and angles, even spawn picking areas depending on the map. Before we get further in the video, I just was editing this video and I forgot to tell you guys two important things. One thing I left out was, what operator should you play on attack and defense? What are the best operators? I'll let you know right now, there is no such thing as a best operator in the game. There's meta operators and really strong operators, but you can be good with any operator as long as you're comfortable playing their utility, whether that's Capkin, Caveira, Vigil. You just do whatever you want, but make sure that you're actually impacting the team and helping them out, because every operator has a gadget that can help out the team in some sort of way. So just keep grinding and do what is more comfortable. So if you're defending and your team is not setting up a lot, they're not reinforcing, they're not putting barbed wire, they're not using your utility right, that's gonna be okay, because those guys don't know exactly what they're doing, and most of the time you probably don't even know what you're doing, because you're still in copper and you're still learning the game. So it's important to know where kind of the default placements for each gadget is supposed to be, the reinforcements, and sometimes you got to reinforce that by yourself. If you know the common rotates and the reinforcements from my other videos and other good players, then you gotta spot that out in your games too. If your team is not reinforcing the right ways, maybe try calling it out. If the reinforce off the rotate, it is what it is. That's not in your control, and that's where you gotta not get mad. The low expectations, like I said. So sometimes you're going to have to reinforce a little bit more than you usually do because you got to make up for your teammates in order to do what you can in the round. That's why if you're solo queuing, you gotta do what is in your control, the most that you can do to help win the round and maintain that stability for your team. But you must remember, if you are solo queuing in copper or any low ranks, you cannot expect to win a lot of games. So finding a few players to stack up with is pretty good, even if it's like 1, 2 people, 3 people, even a full 5 stack. That's really good because you guys have communication. But if you don't work with those kind of players, it's going to be a little bit harder for you to play. But communication is really important in these lower ranks. Another common mistake I see a lot is people think there's some perfect sensitivity. If I use that guy's sensitivity, I'll be as good as him. No, that is false. But what is okay with copying other people's sensitivity is that you can see how they kind of like it and adjust it to your liking. You can adjust their sensitivity a little bit to, oh, it's a little bit too high, I'm gonna tweak it down. That's totally okay. That's actually really good for you to practice your personal preference. Speaking of personal preference, you got to understand that that is literally the most important thing when it comes to your keybinds and your play style of playing the game. Not everybody is going to agree with one way of playing the game, so you got to understand that there's some perspective and you got to just do what is comfortable for you, because at the end of the day, that's what makes you the best player that you can be. So based on your map knowledge, you probably will understand where attackers usually come in from, common defending points. So predictability is a big thing. Let's move on to our next topic about ranking out of copper, is your ability to predict. This also ties into their game sense, but as a copper, when you're with 4 other players on your team that probably have the same knowledge as you, if not less or more, you're gonna feel a lot smarter if you try to predict what the other team is doing. If you know where common people are gonna be holding angles, bandit tricking, putting utility down, where they're gonna sit, it really helps out you visualize your attack. And as you keep playing, if you keep visualizing that attack, you're gonna learn from your mistakes, and eventually your attacks are gonna be sharp and the other team is not going to stand a chance. But what I used to think is that when people tell me, try to think of what the enemy is going to do, try to think of their attack or defense from their eyes. What are they going to do? It could be a little challenging because you probably don't even know what they're gonna be like. I don't know what they're gonna do. I don't know what spots they're gonna hold. Well, I'm not saying you got to think of their every move, but you got to think about what would they do if they were in your situation, or what would you do if you were being attacked from where you are? What spots would they be holding, angles? And that's where really droning out really helps. Droning out positions of other people is super important because the drones basically give you solid info of where a person is. That way you don't have to keep guessing and die from people you don't know. Because once you start droning, I guarantee the other team is not going to know what to do. They're just going to run away. They're going to probably even challenge you. But once you drone, you get more of that vision stable. Like you can actually know where they're about to come in from, where they're going to attack. So droning gives you really good information to get that upper hand in the game. Now that you have the brain sorted out and you kind of know how to play the game a little bit more smarter, your mechanics and your aim is a big part. You can't always be expecting your game sense to help carry up your games, because sometimes you're gonna have to learn how to be a clutch player. And by clutch player, I mean not always clutching a 1v5 every single time. I'm talking about maybe hitting some nice shots that help you take out that man advantage, or maybe it's wasting a lot of time, just kind of making that impact on the round. And you might be thinking mechanics and aim are kind of the same thing. Well, by mechanics, I'll be talking about positioning. Your aim, obviously your ability to snap onto people, flick, hold at good angles, and tracking. So if you want a good aim training kind of guide, I would basically save that for another video. But what I'll give you the rundown is maybe third-party aim trainers. If you're on console, play T-Hunt as much as you can. Otherwise, really getting that third-party aim train is pretty good. But make sure you're T-hunting a lot, correcting your sense, and make sure that you're hitting your shots with comfortably. You don't always have to have that good aim lock, but readjusting your aim to what feels comfortable for you will be a lot easier for you to practice. And your positioning ties in a lot with your map knowledge and game sense of where like the kind of like the timing of when people are opening up walls, they're going to be peeking you, and it's good to get yourself in that upper hand position. Like, who doesn't want that upper hand position in every gunfight? It's really hard to do that at a copper level, but what you can do is try to predict of what the enemy is doing and best make your position and get ready for that attack. So now this is a lot of information for a copper to absorb, especially when you're a new player. At the end of the day, accountability is the most important thing that you can do in this game. You're gonna have a lot of good times and bad times, but the most important thing that you tell yourself is that everything is gonna be okay, and tomorrow is another chance to get better. Whether you went on a 9 losing streak, or probably you didn't drop a single kill out there a few games, or you just feel like you're getting really just getting outskilled. Well, sometimes as a copper you might get paired up with other bronzes, maybe even silvers, but you gotta understand that tomorrow is always gonna be a better day to improve, and it takes a little bit of time, but to get a copper is pretty easy. You just got to make sure that you're kind of doing the bare minimum of what an average player should be doing, and eventually you'll be ranking out. So things to take away as a copper is try to avoid solo queuing, try to queue up with a friend or two, maybe even get a team together. That will really make the games go a lot faster and easier. The second thing is make sure you got your operators that you are comfortable with, your mechanics, and your aim is kind of developing as well as every time you play the game every now and then. So don't try to outbalance your game sense and your aim, because those must be tied together in order for you to be somewhat a consistent player in a higher rank. And the last thing I want to tell you guys is you shouldn't take the game so seriously, especially when you're on a low rank like this. Remember, low expectations, so don't take it so seriously. Have some fun with it. The more you have fun, it'll be a lot easier to point at your mistakes, because let's be honest, nobody plays good when they're angry. So make sure you're keeping that positive mindset, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.